As the prison industrial complex continues to grow, there are more and more industries that stand to profit off incarcerating people or taking advantage of the fact that they're behind bars. One example of that is how various prisons throughout the country have done away with person-to-person, face-to-face visitation and have substituted it with either video conferencing or calling people. So this is a pretty disastrous story because video chatting with people that are behind bars might make sense for someone who's in a different state or far away, but apparently prisons are just doing away with face-to-face visitation altogether. In fact, over 600 prisons in 46 states have some sort of video visitation system, and every year more of those facilities do away with in-person visitation. So this is disastrous because whether you know it or believe it or not, in-person visitation has a lot to do with recidivism. If an inmate has family members or friends that provide a support system for him or her, it's likely that that individual will remain behaved while they're behind bars, they'll get out, and it's less likely that they're going to come back to prison, okay? So there was a case of one woman trying to do a video conference with an inmate that was a friend of hers, and here's what she had to say about it. This happened at the Travis County Prison in Texas. It's just too much frustration to come down here, wait for an hour, and then get 25 minutes for a not-so-good call. I think the hassle is why people don't visit as much anymore.
First, reading on this about this story, as with most people, you get tricked into thinking that this might actually be a good thing because you're like, oh, they get to Skype in. And so sometimes your loved one will be serving time in a prison that's really far away. It takes you an hour to get there. Sometimes it's across many states. You couldn't possibly get there, right? So, and by the way, when they were pitching it to legislators, that's how they start the conversation, right? And in fact, in one case, as Mike.com explains in this article, they tricked one of the officials by saying, oh, yeah, no, totally. Of course you can also visit. And then as soon as you've agreed, they're like, oh, no, if you read the fine print, you're not allowed to visit anymore. It's only the Skype calls. And by the way, we're going to charge you an arm and a leg for those calls.
And that's where the prison industrial complex comes in. I mean, these aren't the regular telecommunications companies that we're dealing with, right? It's not Verizon or Sprint. These are specifically companies that work for prisons. And the way that they get these prisons to sign contracts with them is they offer kickbacks. Okay,
yeah,
so
officially.
Yeah, exactly. So here's what happens. There are three companies that dominate the prison communications business. There's Securius, there's Telmate, and Global Tel Link, also called GTL, the Verizon, ATL, and Sprint of jails, okay? So apparently a sweeping survey of families by the Ella Baker Center showed that more than 1 in 3 families goes into debt just to cover the costs of keeping in touch with their loved one. Of everyone pouring money into those systems, 87% are women. Okay, so they're trying to get in contact with their loved ones, and now that in-person visitation isn't available for all these prisons throughout the country, they have no choice but to pay these ridiculous fees, in some cases $1 per minute, just to communicate with these people. So that's a deterrent, right? If you can't afford it, you're not going to do it.
And a lot of the time, as you all know, it's not even necessarily that they mean badly by it. It doesn't work, right? And so you get the, and you'll drives you crazy, right? And then you think they've got good customer complaint line? They're like, yeah, dude, you're talking to a prisoner. Nobody in this society cares about prisoners. We treat them as less than human. No, I don't give a damn that you couldn't actually use it. I'm going to charge you $1 anyway. I got the entire government behind me because I'm going to do a kickback for them. So here's what we mean by kickbacks. They say it's not a bribe, and it doesn't go to an official, but it goes to cash-strapped local governments. They go, okay, now we'll make these, you'll allow us, one, a monopoly, so nobody else can compete. I thought these guys were all in favor of free markets. What happened? When it comes to robbing us all blind, no, they don't care about the free markets. They love crony capitalism, right? And all the politicians go, yeah, sure, do that. Yes, they'll also get donations to the politicians. But then mainly they go, okay, now of the money we robbed from these folks, we're going to share a small percentage with you guys. So they'll get a couple $1 million back from the enormous profits they made. And then this local government goes, oh my God, that's $2 million. Or if it's a giant, county or region of a state like Texas, might be like $15 million. And then you get hooked on the $15 million. Now they're making a hell of a lot more than that, and they're making it off the poorest people in the country. And not the prisoners, it's usually their loved ones, their moms, their wives, their girlfriends, because 87% of the time it's women, right? And then they got to go into debt, and then that vicious cycle kicks in. But hey, all the powerful people are making money.
Yeah, and not only is there the debt, there's the issue of recidivism. So let's take a look at the next graphic because it shows you just how much of an impact it has on debt, and then we'll get into the numbers on recidivism. So according to the research, about 2.4 million people are confined or incarcerated. 34% of families do go into debt to cover the cost of communicating, just simply communicating with these inmates. 87% of family members responsible are women, as we've mentioned, and $1 per minute is the typical cost of video visitation. There's also email communication that serves as an option in some prisons, and what they do is they force the person sending the email to pay for a digital stamp, almost as if it's in-person, real life postage. It's also phone calls. So if you call on the phone, you'd have to pay per minute, similar to how you would do it with the video chat. And in some cases, it's more than $1 a minute. Now, the incredible anticipation and fulfillment of knowing they care enough to come can be the difference between you comporting with the rules and being more human and aware and knowing the consequences of your actions and being willing to moderate and understand them. That's according to one person who was behind bars for over 20 years for a crime that he committed. And he said, hey, the only thing that kept me going was my family visiting. That's the only thing that kept me well-behaved behind bars. That's the only thing that kept me away from going back to prison when I got out, having that support system available.
So I want to go back to graphic 5 because I want to give you those two stats at the bottom there that goes to the point of recidivism and what they do inside prisons. That's so important. After just one visitation, in-person visitation, there's a 13% reduced chance of committing new crime and 25% reduced chance of technical violations. So if they get the visitation, they're less likely to do crimes outside and commit violations inside prisons. So, by the way, one of the reasons that they give to do this is, oh, we're going to save costs. If there's an in-person visitation, well, then you're going to need more security guards. This way you don't need as many security guards, we save costs. No. It turns out in reality, when you don't get visitations, because we're human beings, people get frustrated, especially as the screen goes, and then they get sent back into jail, and it turns out, based on studies, there are more violations and fights within the prisons, which guess what? Cost more money. So at the end of the day, the prison has to pay more money because the number of incidents and punishment and security guards and fights and all that stuff goes up because you're not allowing them to have human contact with people that they love, right? But it's okay because the government made a little bit more money, the politicians got some contributions, and these private companies that have a monopoly made a ton of money. So who cares that we're grinding these people down into the ground and just crushing their will to live and their spirit? And then we're surprised that they act out and there's recidivism. Oh, who cares? But one last thing about that. Remember, the prison industrial complex doesn't go, oh yeah, you're right, the downside is recidivism, but at least we got paid. No, they think that's one of the upsides.
Yeah.
Because recidivism means they're coming back into jail and then they make more money. Now, those are two separate issues because this could happen in a public prison as well. This, video messaging that we're talking about. And on that, but everybody's trying to make money off the slaves, prisoners, right? Who are put in there for the very dangerous things, a lot of them for smoking marijuana, which our last 1, 2, 3 presidents have admitted to doing, right? But very dangerous, very dangerous. But if you're powerful, don't worry about it. If you're powerless, they're going to grind you and humiliate you and crush your spirit and make all the money off of you. And by the way, some of this video messaging, remember what I said in the beginning? Well, at least if you're really far away. No, yes, that happens sometimes. Other times, they make them drive to the prison and then do the video messaging from the other side of the wall. And on top of everything, guys, yes, they've committed crimes. That guy served 20 years, etc. But they're still human beings. We've lost sense of our common decency and humanity. And so, who cares? Who cares? Don't let them see their loved ones. And let me make it a little bit more real because it's not in this story, but I always remember the story of the woman who had the 3 strikes. Eventually got so bad that we made a big deal out of it. A lot of other people made a big deal out of it, and Obama eventually didn't pardon her, but commuted the rest of her sentence. Her ex-husband or boyfriend had planted drugs in her house and blamed it on her, and it was just easier to prosecute her, so they put her away for life. Okay, so she finally got out, but after serving an enormously long period of time, and she had 3 kids. The only thing that kept her going was every once in a while she'd get to hold her kids. And so she'd get to see them grow up. So she had a baby when they first put her away, okay? And by the way, the first 2 strikes were minor usage of drugs, like, oh, she smoked pot, like all of our presidents. She did this. And then, but at least she kept going and she fought hard. She got a degree, she did all the right things and she got out. Now, because of the new way of sucking money out of the system and out of all of us, now they say, no, you're not going to get to see your kids. You're not going to get to hold your kids. You're not going to get to do any of that stuff because we got another buck to make. One other thing about that is that it's another form of taxation. And one of the victims here talks about that. And it just shifts the taxes from the rich to the poor and middle class. And goes, okay, well, that $2 million or $15 million that the local county or government is going to make, well, they could have made that money from the local corporations that have business there. They could easily afford it where they make giant profits. But no, we're not going to do that because they already paid off our politicians. Instead, we're going to take it from you. And then when you can't pay your debts, maybe we'll put you in prison and go through this whole thing again.
Yeah, and it's the perfect crime for corporations and politicians that are in favor of doing away with these visitations because no one cares about inmates, right? When you really think about it, even liberals, this is not a partisan issue. People think of inmates as throwaways. And so no one's going to raise their voice about this. No one's going to stir the pot. And that's the depressing part about it.
Okay. Okay, look, I'm also a little bit guilty of this because in the past I've thought, look, man, there's 1,000 issues that we got to go tackle. Prisoners is not an overly sympathetic case for Americans. It's a tough issue, so let's prioritize the other things above that, right? Well, I'm done with that because for a number of reasons, including all the stories that Anna's brought to us and we've covered together in the second hour. Also in New York, I just saw this great guy give a speech about in New York how they've just turned it into a machine, right? Like we've seen in all these other states. But in New York, it's only one of only 2 states, I think North Carolina is the other, that at 16, they automatically try you as an adult. You can't smoke a cigarette until you're 21. You can't drink alcohol you can't have a beer until you're 21. But if you commit any violation, including smoking pot, at 16, you're an adult. You're an adult, and you're going to adult prison. You're going to Rikers Island.
It's amazing.
Right? And then
16 is not an adult.
Yeah, and then those prisons are enormously violent. And then they teach criminality, and it goes round and round and round. And now we know that Nixon's aide Ehrlichman said, yeah, obviously we started the war on drugs to get hippies and black people because they were our enemies. And to this fucking day, we're doing it anyway. The whole system it's not incidentally racist, it's built on racism, okay? And sometimes we talk about they go after liberals or whatever. In this case, under the war on drugs, the whole point was to target 2 sets of people, blacks and liberals, okay? So every day that you don't fight back against that system, you tolerate a gross injustice. And I'm telling you that what I did wrong was because not only was the priorities off, but I need to take a longer, deeper look and see what I was thinking about those prisoners, right? And a lot of those prisoners, we are trained, especially, I grew up in a middle-class suburb, upper middle-class suburb, okay? We didn't think about prisoners. Prisoners were guilty. Prisoners were wrong. You don't think about them, right? But you read these stories.
They're just poor.
They're just 9 out of 10 times they're poor. Yes, of course there are bad guys, and of course we want to put them away, and we're not I don't know if there are suckers like that out there, right? But we're not among them, right? We're not like, hey, let everybody go and give them flowers and let them ride off into the sunset with unicorns, right? No, but you don't realize they're not, like, a lot of these guys aren't the bad guys. They're just did the same exact thing you did in your suburb, but they got crushed for it.
Yeah, they got specifically targeted for it.
Because the system set up to target them and not you in the suburbs.
Exactly.
Right, we know the statistics that they don't do drugs at any higher rate, but they're incarcerated at a much higher rate. They're arrested at a much higher rate. You know, stop and frisk. They frisk more black guys than live in New York City. So, I mean, can you imagine if they stopped and frisked you in Culver City? Can you imagine that? People were stopping and frisking you for walking down the street. Like, what the F? We'd all be in jail at some point because they can put you in jail for, like, when a cop pulls you over. They can find a violation.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah, and here's where they're not going to do that. Rodeo Drive.
Of course not.
Right?
Yeah.
So that's the reality.